History remembers kings for their wars, their treaties, their grand pronouncements, their palaces. But sometimes the most telling artifacts, the most revealing details, are far more personal, more intimate, born not of statecraft, but of simple human necessity. King Edward VII, a monarch who presided over a vast empire, a figure of immense public charisma, known for his bonhomie, his diplomatic flair, and, it must be said, his considerable appetite for life. An appetite that manifested not just in his enjoyment of fine food and company, but in his physical stature. He was, by the time he ascended the throne in 1901, a man of substantial girth. And for a monarch whose life involved countless hours of sitting for audiences, for state dinners, for portraits, for the endless ceremonies of kingship's standard seating, often presented a challenge. A challenge to comfort, certainly, but perhaps more crucially, a challenge to royal dignity. A king, after all, should not appear squeezed, constrained, or uncomfortable upon his own seat. And so a solution was devised. Not a temporary fix, not an occasional adjustment, but a permanent, dedicated piece of royal equipment, the king's chair. This was no ordinary piece of furniture. It was specially commissioned, bespoke, crafted with one overriding consideration: generous proportions. Wider, deeper, sturdier than any standard chair, it was designed to accommodate the king's ample frame with ease and, importantly, with regal composure. But here is where this story takes a truly fascinating, less heralded turn. This chair was not merely a fixture in Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle. This chair travelled. It became a silent, sturdy companion on the king's journeys. Wherever Edward VI went on official duty within his kingdom to Balmoral, to Sandringham, his special chair went with him. Packed, transported, and carefully placed in readiness by household staff. The intrigue deepens, however, when we consider his extensive foreign travels. Edward VI, the uncle of Europe, was frequently on the move, visiting relatives on continental thrones, engaging in personal diplomacy. And remarkably, this substantial piece of English oak, or perhaps mahogany, this very personal throne, often accompanied him even abroad. Imagine the logistics. The king's special chair, carefully crated, loaded onto royal yachts or trains, traversing nations to be discreetly installed in guest suites in German schlosses, French chateaux, or Scandinavian palaces. Why such extraordinary effort for a piece of furniture? Firstly, and most obviously, comfort. Long hours of state discussion or ceremonial banquets would be arduous without it. But it was about more than mere ease. It was about royal dignity. The image of the British monarch was paramount. He needed to be seen, always, at his ease, in command, unruffled by such trivialities as inadequate seating. This chair ensured that wherever he was, he could preside with the appropriate gravitas. Consider the quiet choreography that must have surrounded this chair's movements. The hushed activity of household staff ensuring its timely arrival and placement before the king himself entered a room. The subtle negotiations, perhaps, with foreign hosts to accommodate this unusual piece of royal luggage. There's a certain element of suspense in this, the ever-present need to ensure the king's personal comfort and public image were maintained, no matter the location. This wasn't an act of mere petulance or excessive indulgence, though Edward certainly enjoyed his comforts. It was a practical solution to a genuine issue, one that had implications for the king's ability to perform his duties effectively and maintain his public persona. It speaks to an era where the monarch's person was still, in many ways, the embodiment of the state, and every detail of his presentation mattered. The chair itself, one imagines, would have been a fine example of Edwardian craftsmanship, robust, upholstered in rich fabric, perhaps bearing a subtle royal cipher. It was, in its own way, a throne away from the throne, a mobile symbol of his status, tailored precisely to his needs. It tells us something profound about the realities of kingship, that even amidst the grandeur and ceremony, very human considerations prevail. One can almost picture the scene. Foreign dignitaries ushered into an audience chamber, perhaps noticing or perhaps politely ignoring the slightly larger, more imposing chair occupied by their British royal guest. It was a silent testament to a very human reality, yet also a subtle assertion of royal prerogative. The king's needs would be met, his comfort assured, his dignity preserved, wherever he might be. This travelling chair is a small, often overlooked detail, yet it offers a uniquely intimate glimpse into the life of Edward VI. It strips away some of the imperial gloss to reveal the man, with his physical realities and his very practical solutions. It's a story not of crowns and sceptres, but of wood and upholstery, of logistics and personal comfort. A quiet, sturdy piece of Edwardian England following its king wherever he went, ensuring that wherever he sat as a king should. A throne away from home, built for a king who filled every space he occupied, in every sense of the word.